Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago in person and at home. My name is Tabitha DeBoni. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of the Praise and Worship Committee, and I'm honored to welcome you to worship this morning along with our worship team. Today we have Reverend Alan Hardin, who serves as the minister to the Beverly Unitarian Church on the southwest section of Chicago. We have Hank Henriquez, who runs the humanist group here at the First Unitarian, and Elizabeth Tolbert, the director of religious education here. First Unitarian Church has been a home for progressive religion in Chicago and beyond since 1836. The church sits on the western shore of Lake Michigan, south of the Chicago River. We honor the indigenous peoples for whom these are unceded ancestral homelands, as well as diverse and vibrant indigenous American communities who make their home here today. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youths, and adults. A people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share and the mission to grow our souls and heal the world. Whether you just stepped into the church for the first time or for the 1000th time, you are welcomed here. Whether you believe in God all the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcomed here. Whether you have a PhD, a GED, or no degree, you are welcomed here. No matter your race, or who you love, or how much money you do or do not have, you are welcomed here. If you're a visitor, we're excited to have you here with us. We want to tell you to please fill out the welcome and I apologize. To please fill out the welcome card previously. We want to tell you to please fill out the welcome card, which may be found in front of you or at the welcome table by the front door. If you filled out a welcome card previously, we are very happy you have returned. We are asking all guests to sign the guest book near the front door. We hope that keeping track will help us better include you in our community. If anyone has a joy or sorrow that you would like to have read out loud, please fill out the card and give it to one of the ushers as they collect the offering. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like the Care and Support Committee to know about privately, you may put the cards in the sanctuary box at the back anytime. Please join me in reading our covenant as we light our chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Adam. I missed that. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Alan Harden, and it's a true pleasure for me to be back up here. I was a member of this church for many years, and I see many familiar faces in the crowd. And surprisingly, just like me, none of them have aged in the last 15 or 20 years. Excuse me. Anyhow, what is a UU? Can a UU believe anything? We all hold questions about our chosen faith community, but the answers keep changing. In the 1950s and 60s, I attended a UU Sunday school and eventually a youth group in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. My congregation was sort of secular, humanistic, wrapped with many religious overtones. If you had asked me then what Unitarian was about, I had an answer. We don't teach belief, but we're deeply concerned with the brotherhood of man, I would have said. Now that's a good answer. It's a profound answer, but it wouldn't fly any further today than who knows what. Because of those words, the brotherhood of man, only the word of is acceptable right now. The rest excludes over half of us. As always, though, we can adjust for gender and base language and say something like, we care for humanity. But even that leaves out stuff like the interdependent web, which we UUs didn't really discover until the 1960s. Things change. As the poet Rilke says, have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer.
Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 318 in the gray hymnal, We Would Be One. Number 318 in the gray hymnal. Thank you. You may be seated.
Hello again, church. Before inviting Elizabeth Tolbert, our Director of Education, to come up for Time of All Ages, I want to just take a second to invite someone to come up for a special announcement. I'm going to... This is Travis.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Travis Kalin, co-chair of the Racial Justice Task Force and a member of this wonderful church. In 1966, Martin Luther King Jr. and civil rights activists from across the country conducted a march into Marquette Park. At the time, they marched to bring attention to the poor living conditions of Black Chicagoans and the inequities present in our system. Now, on Saturday, August 1st, 60 years later, a new march is taking place. Communities across the country face renewed attacks on voting rights and access to ballot, expanding systems of criminalization and detention, and deepening economic inequality. The Racial Justice Task Force and Bobby are working to organize a group from First Unitarian Church of Chicago to take part in this march. If you're interested, please see me, Marie, or Bobby for the event. The check-in will begin at 9 a.m. on Saturday, August 1st, on 63rd and Kedzie. And the march will begin at 11 a.m. Any help is appreciated, whether it's carpooling, providing water, or marching. Any support will go a long way. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, good morning. All right, so I have a poem today, actually, and it's called Rabbit, It's Up to Its Tricks. It's by Joy Harjo. In a world long before this one, there was enough for everyone, until somebody got out of line. We heard it was Rabbit, fooling around with the clay and the wind. Everybody was tired of his tricks, and no one would play with him. He was lonely in this world, so Rabbit thought to make a person. And when he blew into the mouth of that crude figure to see what would happen, the clayman stood up. Rabbit showed the clayman how to steal a chicken. The clayman obeyed. The rabbit showed him how to steal corn. The clayman obeyed. Then he showed him how to steal someone else's wife. The clayman obeyed. Rabbit felt important and powerful. The clayman felt important and powerful. And once that clayman started, he could not stop. Once he took that chicken, he wanted all the chickens. And once he took that corn, he wanted all the corn. And once he took that wife, he wanted all the wives. He was insatiable. Then he had a taste of gold, and he wanted all the gold. Then he had a taste of land, and he wanted all of the land. His wants and only made him want more. Soon it was countries, and then it was trade. The wanting infected the earth. We lost track of the purpose and reason for life. We began to forget our songs. We forgot our stories. We could no longer see or hear our ancestors. Our talk with each other across the kitchen table, or our talk with each other across the kitchen table. Forests were being mowed down all over the world, and the rabbit had no place to play. Rabbit's tricks had backfired. Rabbit tried to call the clayman back, but when the clayman wouldn't listen, the rabbit realized he made a clayman with no ears. The end. Thank you. And at this time, we would like you all to turn and greet your neighbor. And if we have any little ones, we can send you off to class with left.
It's time for offertory. We now take up our weekly offering. Your generosity supports the important ministries of this church. Each month, we choose a community partner with whom we share our collection 50-50. This month's partner is Off the Street Club. Founded in 1900, Off the Street Club is Chicago's oldest inner-city youth program for boys and girls. Against the backdrop of West Garfield Park, where violence, gangs, and drugs are a daily threat, they offer hope. The club is a place where more than 3,000 kids and young adults live in this neighborhood, have a safe place to learn, laugh, and play without worry. Many of us hear negative stories about Garfield Park every day. At Off the Street Club, they choose to focus on a different story: the well-being and happiness of the many families and kids that live here. Every young person deserves to experience casual joy. Their goal is to provide a space for that to happen, where they can have a home. Thank you for your generosity toward our shared ministry in this church and in this world. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
My reading was written by Reverend Karen von Fossen, and it's published. It's a selection in the UU Pocket Guide 7th edition, published in that document. For Unitarian Universalists, life on earth can be so vast, so magnificent, so challenging that many perspectives are needed to approach it. On the surface, our perspectives may have little in common. Some of us draw on nature, some on science, some on human experience, and some on spiritual tradition. Still, we are held together thanks to these varied perspectives by common values that grow from our plurality.
Please rise in body or spirit for the singing of our centering song. What? Oh, there is. Okay, sorry. Please be seated.
Sorry. Two selections, one more
Oh.
reading, sorry. Within Unitarian Universalism, I can be an artist and a scientist at the same time. I can be a believer and a skeptic without any sense of contradiction. I'm grateful to be part of a religion that allows for many things to be true at once. Being held in community through deep and active love makes this more than possible. It makes it joyful. And that excerpt is by Reverend Dr. Adam Robersmith.
Please rise in body or spirit for the singing of our centering song. Spirit made a place for you where everything is new. Spirit made a place for you where everything is new. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Love has made a place for you where everything is new. Grace has made a place for you where everything is new. Grace has made a place for you where everything is new. Life has made a place for you where everything is new. Life has made a place for you where everything is new. Thank you. You may be seated.
And good morning once more. Every once in a while, I find it useful to step back and review the ideas that, at least in my understanding, are basic to what being together as a Unitarian Universalist church community means. Some elements of this are repeated so often that we are all aware of them. They're just sort of beaten into us. We hold or teach no creed about religious beliefs. We encourage each person to engage in their own search to understand truth and find what brings meaning to their lives. We believe that every person has inherent worth and dignity, that we all deserve to be treated fairly and with justice. We try to practice radical welcome, acceptance to all, and to build and sustain a safe and supportive space for shared questioning and exploration. We have affirmed and promoted specific principles for living and now have restated our emphasis in terms of shared values all derived from and anchored in a fundamental love. Excuse me. These are things we say and hear a lot, and that we try to realize in the ongoing life of our congregation. Each of them is a profound statement about who we are and what we do, and each represents a major change from the mainstream church traditions from which our church was born. A primary assumption in liberal religion is that revolution is never sealed, meaning that our beliefs and practices should always be open to change in response to shifts in how we understand our world and our environment. Now, revelation is a traditionally religious word, and when this phrase first entered our faith tradition, most people that thought that what was revealed to us had to do with the nature of God and our relationship to the divine. Today, we embrace all new truths and understanding, including those gained by personal observation, through scientific inquiry, and other ways. Revelation has many paths. Liberalism itself presumes openness to change, so it makes sense that our liberal religion tries to be flexible and adaptable as we find new problems to solve and new needs to meet. Now, one version of this that I wrote is sort of also includes an intro to UU 101, deals a lot with church history, our history of social involvements and things like that. I'm going to spare you that. If you want to hear it, catch me after church. I'll be happy to do it for you. But let's move on to, if you read things about Unitarian Universalism, you will often hear the claim that we have a rich and deep and nuanced theology. Theology is another religious word that we've appropriated, even as we change in meaning, its meaning to suit our own needs. Our religion is no longer just about our relation to God, as the word denotes. To us, theology is about the nature of being human, how we are related to all that exists, how we relate to the ultimate ground of being, whatever that might be, and how we understand the horizon towards which all life is oriented. Another way of saying this is that our theology is our study of the intersection of the cosmos, how things work, and the ethos, what matters. This is all deeply important as our understandings shape our beliefs, our actions, and our imagination of what is possible. Our current formal theologians pull ideas from many sources, which include feminist, womanist, queer, disability, and post-colonial theories and perspectives. It would not be wrong to claim that increasingly we are moving towards liberationist ideas as we seek to address the well-being of all persons, especially those that have historically been marginalized by the current order, whether it's the current order in Chicago, in the United States, or in the world. But when it comes to theology, most of us are a little less deliberate and tend to developing our own working theology on the fly. What is common across most UU thought, whether by professional theologians or just us regular Sunday churchgoers, is that what we do and how we behave is more important in our religion than what we believe. God is an ongoing question and sometimes a ground of dispute. We speak about the divine in many ways. Indeed, that is a big aspect of what I will call our theological diversity. We hear terms like spirit of life, source of all, ground of being, spirit, goddess, etc. These are names for ideas that some of us hold to define an essential force that connects humankind and the cosmos. And each of these terms are understood by some as describing a higher power that may influence how we live and relate. Or they are understood by others simply as metaphor for some shared and common essence, however poorly understood it might be. Sometimes our ears hurt a little when we hear words we don't appreciate. I encourage all of you to try to be tolerant and to try to map some of the religious words to something else in your own mind. This came up recently in a discussion of certain hymns that we sing fairly often. The more traditional lyrics sometimes speak in God talk. I encourage you not to let this throw you. It had meaning to some people once, so let it stand. It does not mean you accept God. It means you respect the devotion of the 18th century poet. It definitely is not like the Pledge of Allegiance, where you should never say under God, because that's just wrong on so many levels. UU conceptions of God rarely, maybe never, include the notion of an all-powerful being who is personal, in charge, and directs affairs here on earth. Indeed, we UUs do, and it's one of the few claims that I can sort of categorically make, reject any ideas of a God that might compromise human freedom and choice, or that separate us from our responsibility to seek goodness in this world. I use the words divine or the sacred to describe those things that place awe and wonder before me, that elicit a feeling of reverence, that hold deepest meaning in my personal view of the cosmos. To me, these are as close as my granddaughters, as large as nature, as conceptual as evolution, or as pleasant as laughter and joy. If religion is more about how we behave than what we believe, what is it that we as UUs do? We still tend to organize ourselves in a way that looks much like traditional church. Our congregations tend to worship on Sundays, having a service that resembles the traditional Protestant liturgical form. We light a chalice, we have hymns and music, topical sermons, something like prayers, and we usually bring this forward with some semblance of repetition and ritual. Our similarity to mainstream church helps us to hold visibility in our community as a faith group, but it probably scares away many who no longer want any association with church or religion. We should always remain open to changes in the way we do church, or even if we do church as we know it. The current formats are time-proven and provide both comfort and stimulation to many of our members, but they are not essential to our purpose or to our mission. We do need to keep finding ways to help persons relate to their lives and the world we live in. We don't teach answers, but their traditionally religious questions are still important to all of us. Things like, where do I come from? What am I? Where am I going? I think that's the lyrics of a song. What is the meaning of life? How do I find purpose? Why do bad things happen? How can I face loss and despair? Can you think of ways that your church life, this church, helps you with your own search for meaning and understanding? I'm going to hop into a couple of separate discussions of things that I just consider interesting and that maybe are risky terrain for a theological discussion of Unitarian Universalism. We UUs have always tended to hold an optimism about human nature and the human condition. Recall the foundational ideas, well, you can't recall them, I didn't give you that part of the sermon, that we were made in the image of God or that we were the beloved of God. These were early 19th century Unitarian notions. And we often rely on an implicit faith in moral progress and human perfectibility. We frequently make reference to the Theodore Parker, Martin Luther King, Barack Obama trope that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. This idea, this belief is often the basis we use for offering hope in times of challenge and despair. But is all of this really justified by anything other than wishful thinking? Is there any reason to believe that we humans are inherently good? Which, I ask you to notice, is very different from being inherently worthy. The word from developmental psychologists is ambiguous on this issue. My intuition says that human goodness and badness is much more the result of nurture than nature, and that we can try to build a world where children are loved and supported and safe in order to move towards a goal of greater human goodness and improvement in the world. I think that's how many of us live our lives. But as we know, stuff happens in our world, and we are all too aware of the negative effects of human greed, violence, and selfishness. We are challenged by pervasive and persistent ways that humans continue to harm one another and the planet, despite knowing better. We have to make room for this in our thinking. One suggestion is just to assert that we're born into original struggle, not original sin or something like that, where the line between good and evil runs through every human heart. This clearly would bring a new religious pragmatism, one that does not fly in the face of what we know. But however we view human nature, we know that we must make space in our worship life for dealing with harms, evils, and grief. We can always work to improve our capacity for lamentation, repentance, forgiveness, and healing. This is often the very hard work of being a church community. And it's nowhere near as much fun as parties and dances and that kind of thing. But it's what we need to do for one another. Indeed, I have personally felt my ministry change dramatically during the past year and a half, as I have spent far more time and effort in what I call the pastoral mode than before the last election. I used to spend more time in what we would call prophetic mode, but my people have needs. I find that my congregants feel wounded and despondent about the current political climate and events across the globe. The need to find a grounding in our shared life and to develop reasons to hope and persevere has taken over so much of my effort. I only wish I could bring easy promises that would really help heal these wounds. Moving on to topic 2, we all probably have an image of what I would call knee-jerk Christianity. And we mock knee-jerk Christians with some regularity. These are the folks that regularly attend church and consider themselves to be upstanding citizens and stalwarts of the community, while they completely ignore the main teachings of Jesus as found in the Gospels. Many good Christians are directly involved in punishing the poor, excluding the refugee, and demonizing the outsider. We know it is possible to use one's faith as a prop while practicing hypocrisy, because we see it all the time. Just look to our Congress, for example. This does not mean all Christians are terrible. It means that too many people use it as a shield. What would our version, a knee-jerk you look like? Well, here's one idea. I think it's very possible to enter one of our congregations as one might belong to any social club and assume that by association with Unitarian Universalists, we automatically gain liberal cred and a hall pass that gets us out of religious practices and that inoculates us from committing to a path of personal and moral growth. Everybody here is interesting. Why not just come on, show up, and go along for the ride? Well, our churches and congregations can provide a transformative spiritual experience and help to sustain a lifetime path of personal growth and fulfillment, but only if one puts in the effort and commits to exploring and sharing and learning about all of the important life questions along the way. When we reject the notion that an external divine force guides our daily life, we therefore are assuming that we, whether we as each one of us or whether we as all of humanity, hold the responsibility to care for our neighbors and our planet. We are all that there really is in forming and bringing the conditions of our lives. How do we go about this? As UUs, we constantly describe the value and richness we obtain from our climate of theological pluralism. We don't teach belief, but we rather ask each person to engage in personal search. And that's all well and good, but it sounds also potentially fragmented, maybe even isolating or a little lonely. What has the potentially transformative power is when we come together to share our thoughts, beliefs, and ideas with each other. We need to engage the beliefs and the thought processes and the feelings of others, not only to come to know them better, not only to learn more about humanity, but to learn about ourselves. We need to learn to share safely and without becoming judgmental. One example, I have always, as far as I know, since birth, considered myself to be an atheist. And I once had little or no tolerance for explanations that involved any superhuman force or God. Well, that was true until I started engaging deeply with believers of many stripes. And I did this more than anything through chaplaincy work. I needed to learn what they viewed in their own God images, how they related to their God, and what it meant for their understanding of themselves and everything around them. I have heard many things that I don't personally accept, but also many things that sound strikingly similar to my own thoughts. But mostly, what I could hear in people as they thought about their spirituality was the goodness and the reverence that came to them through the imagery they held, and the sense of comfort and belonging that ideas can bring. Who am I to take that from them? Discussion and sharing is essential if we are to learn and grow. I think this is a commitment every UU must make, especially when we come together within our congregations. And it's not always easy. Sharing deep ideas is not the natural thing to do at coffee hour or in the, well, we don't have one here, but the parking lot or on the street. And we are not always good at this. I'm a born in UU. 3 of my 4 grandparents were Unitarian. As a teen, when I was seeking guidance, I once asked my parents separately whether they believed in God, because I was trying to figure things out. And each responded with something like, I don't think I do, but I think your mother, father might. Talk about verboten subjects, and even within a marriage, God was not on the table. I think it should have been. I believe that we should always seek to provide better venues for personal sharing and discussion. Here at First U, probably a quarter of a century ago, we attempted a theological pluralism project. At least I think that was the name of it. We created special interest groups for UU Christians, UU humanists, and earth and nature-based UUs. We also made fumbling attempts at a Hindu group and a Buddhist group and a Jewish group, but they didn't fly the same way. I guess there was a Buddhist group. I take that back. Mea culpa. Each group met on its own, and we planned to have special shared discussions where we all met together to learn from our other experiences and points of view. This was an admirable plan, but it never really happened the way it was planned. My understanding is that the times for intergroup sharing were approached with far too much caution for fear of creating divisiveness and rifts within the church. So that realistic and meaningful sharing never happened, or at least it never happened freely and openly. As far as I know, and this could well be wrong, the humanist group is the only relic of this project that remains today. And this group, which provides important support and kinship for its members, remains somewhat isolated from the other approaches. My fear is that they still find it difficult to forego discussion about other religions and the problems other religions pose. I would prefer that they attend to the present and focus their energy on how to create a living humanist practice that might help all of us negotiate the important issues of our lives without supernatural influence. A UU concept of salvation, if there is such a thing, is found in the idea of making this life for each of us something worthy of living, something worthy of pride. And this resonates with all I know, that we have only this one life, and that what we do and know in this span is our everything, our paradise, our hell, our legacy, our meaning and purpose. In these current times, we UUs and other woke liberals need to circle the wagons in self-defense and support one another as we practice life based on notions of tolerance, compassion, and fairness. We need to hold on to one another as we stay the course and wait for public sanity and goodness to someday, maybe, return. We need to keep the messages moving that might help to turn the moral tide of our nation. We need to continue to stand up and name injustice as a wrong. To do these things, though, we need to stay healthy in our own house, to feed our own spiritual needs, to sustain the covenants that bind us together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. Our ministry at this church is to assist one another in bringing more fulfillment, more belonging, and more sense of righteousness into this brief and fleeting moment we know as life. Let us do so. Ashe, and blessed be.
My name is Jean Hester, and I'm going to be doing joys and sorrows this morning. And the sorrow I just have that is not so great is that I just deleted my notes. But my joy is that ad lib is something that might be useful to me at this moment. As we gather each week in worship in this celebration of life, we bring our whole selves to share with one another our joys as well as our sorrows. This morning, I ask that you lift me up and join me in the one sorrow that we have, or that I have this morning. And this is where I ad-lib. I ask you to join me as we remember all of our concerns with the smoke we all shared in the past week. My immense sorrow is the response of our national leader to those Canadian wildfires, which is to raise tariffs on them because of the wildfires. An additional sorrow is that our ignorance is that as we have wildfires in California and other parts of our own West, and in France, and in Spain, and other parts of the country, that people like me, unlike probably most of you, have had great concerns about global warming all these years, might begin to see what is right before our eyes, our ears, and our noses, just one aspect of what we all have to join to fight against. And so I ask that we all lift ourselves up in that sorrow that does have a hope in it. The nice part about sorrows is that's the one mentioned this morning. So now we happily turn to joys. We just returned from France. This is from Alexis Chima. We just returned from France, where my sister married her best friend. Inez was the flower girl, and Ezra handed out cheese. All right, Tony, I'm happy with you. Tony says, I'm so happy to have welcomed my mentor extraordinaire, Amber Rayleigh, to town this week. Great time to catch up on her visit. That's Tony. And as we close, we hold in our hearts, and I ask you to join me in doing this. Our leaders in church and state, that they may find their way as they are doing even as we move forward to wisdom and love. We hold in our hearts all who are working tirelessly for more justice and dignity, that we might be strengthened and renewed in the work of birthing a new world.
Comfort me, O my soul.
And finally, we lift up those whose names are on our hearts and minds, and we speak them aloud in this space or silently in our hearts. For all the joys and sorrows of our community and of the world, those named and those held silently, those remembered and those forgotten, may we take a space for them to keep them in our care.
Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul.
Please rise in body or spirit for our sending hymn, number 151, I Wish I Knew How, the gray hymnal. Number 151, the gray hymnal. I wish to hear. I wish I could share all the love in my heart, remove all the bars that us keep hold apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me, then you'd see and agree everyone should be free. Then you'd see and agree everyone should be free. I wish I could give all of the long to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if I found I could fly. I've soared to the sun and looked down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels to be free.
We're at an interesting cultural impasse here because you're waiting for me to say a few nice words, and I'm waiting for you to be able to pick up your hymnals and join in a responsive reading. I think what you're doing is so much better than what I can bring to offer. I'm just going to say, go with goodness, go with love. Just keep going and doing the good work that you're doing, being the good people that you're doing, and hold up this First Unitarian Church community and keep it moving on into the forever future. Amen. Goodbye.